nervous?
No.
Where's your answer?
Dennis Beckham, let the ball on! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Oh!
Oh, no! Oh, yes! He missed it.
Welcome to the Suffering from Joy podcast. It's happened again. Austin FC didn't show up on the road. 2-0 win for Sporting, quote-unquote, Kansas City out at the Nebraska Furniture Mart parking lot. You know, if you didn't watch this game, you didn't really miss much, and you've probably seen it before. So I guess we're going to do our best to dissect it for you and try to tell you something new, but there's not a whole lot new under the sun here. Joining me today, Charles Peacock of the False Nine, Texas. Charles, how you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. I realized last night is like when you're rewatching a show and you get to like that one episode that really like you hate or that you just can't make it through, except we're going to have like a few more of those this season.
The Futurama episode with Fry's dog.
Oh, I was also thinking the Grey's Anatomy where they sing for no reason.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never seen any of that, but that's not surprising at all. So if I were to do a little like word association for you here, and I said like mosquito, what's the first word that comes to your mind?
Blood.
Blood? Okay. And if I say wolf, what about now?
I mean, out.
Out. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to get that out of the way early. I don't think we're gonna really do the Josh debate because I don't think our positions have really changed. They're just hardened. Just to get that out of the way early. But also, giggling in the background here is Brad Tillery. Brad, how you doing?
I'm okay. Sorry, just waking up. It's gonna be hot, and somehow my golf game is gonna look better today than Austin FC. And if you've ever seen me play golf, that is a really bad statement.
No, I'm covered in like sweat and mulch, and I think I'm looking a little more appealing than Austin FC did last night. Yeah, for those of you who want a little like peek behind the curtain, I don't tell Charles or Brad or Seth, who's also with us, any of these little antics I do on air ahead of time. I just do them for fun to see how they react. So Charles had no idea that was coming. We don't rehearse this. Seth, you were actually out in Kansas City enjoying what is hopefully a good weekend besides yesterday. How you feeling?
You know what? It is a cold front came through right before kickoff, so it was about 75 degrees and perfect weather for the match, and it is 65 out on this patio where I'm recording, and it's shaded, and that is the nicest thing I'm going to say about that match.
Are you in Kansas City or not Kansas City?
I'm in your favorite state of Missouri by about a half mile right now from where I'm recording.
Okay, yeah. So it's not all bad. I'm sorry you had to go to Kansas yesterday and are going back today, but you got to see somebody kick a ball into the Missouri River. That's never happened before.
I did get to see a river goal scored almost straight over my head. And I will say the Kansas City Current experience was awesome. They do need to work on their transit access to the stadium, but that is a whole separate sets of issues. But once you're at the stadium, it was sold out. It was loud. The aesthetic of the stadium is really cool. You can get a Joe's Barbecue Z-Man sandwich in the stadium. They had a better beer selection than Sporting KC. It felt like you were in a city, and their team is awesome. The Current picked up their 10th win of the season. They had 28 shots in the match. I just very unfamiliar watching teams that take 28 shots in a match.
I'm curious to see how many shots we've taken in the season now. Please hold.
We have Austin FC in 10 road matches has had 19 shots on goal. Admittedly, not all of the Current shots were on goal, but
yeah. How did they log that one that went to the river? Is that on goal or not?
That is yes,
separate category.
That is a separate category, but I will say that in Philly, they've been playing by the river for years, and they've never kicked one in the river. Obviously, it's a little bit easier at the Current stadium because there is no bleachers between the stadium and the river. But yes, they had to get like a little McCovey Cove action there in Missouri.
So it sounds...
to call back, Austin FC has 50 shots on target in 21 games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have our like total shots in road matches handy? You said 19 on goal, right?
Yeah.
And there was one last night?
No, there was none last night.
No, there was none last night.
Oh, okay. I read Phil's summary, and I thought he said they had one, but
No, there was like
They
that
always-
play in the second half that was a ball that they called a shot, but like was really just a deflection that went towards the keeper. Like in my mind, that was not a shot.
Okay, yeah. So I mean,
And
we just talked about
this target. Was
Yeah,
like
and one of those road shots on goal is also the Emiliano Rigoni like hitting it from 50 yards out earlier this season.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's stuff like that involved in there.
So I'm trying to mental math out the probability that Darwin Nunez finishes with more shots on goal from Copa America than we've had on the road by the time that tournament ends.
Oh my gosh, I don't want to think about that. But if we
I mean,
include
a few of
shots
us
on
have
goal and shots on actual frame, then yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess
Like,
we.
my goal is that the last night was the most depressing thing I saw on this trip because I don't think I'm ready to handle Monday if it's a multi-goal loss. Or actually, no, a multi-goal loss would be okay because Greg might get fired for that. The worst thing would be like a draw and Panama wins, and then we get Greg for 2 more years and we're out of Copa America.
Yeah, I think we'll do some U.S. stuff at the back of the show, but let's knock the Austin FC stuff out early. We already kind of mentioned one of the 2 chances we had all game. Essentially, we had a very nice move actually down the wing, and this is in the second half. Down a goal already. Cross in from Sebas behind O'Brien. He kind of fluffs it, and we're saying that didn't count as a shot on goal.
No, it was a shot, but I don't think it would have actually landed up on goal.
Okay.
And it's like
so we had 2 shots.
We had 2 shots, and then we had the shot that O'Brien had in the 15th minute. That was actually a pretty good chance. He just didn't finish it.
Yeah. So, I mean, we went into halftime with 0.03 XG, so it couldn't have been that great. I mean, we did have another one, too, where we kind of had a little bit of a momentum and then just lost the ball sillily. But so we got 2 of our 3 highlights out of the way.
Yeah.
The other one is Jimmy Time making his pro debut, or his I guess first team debut. Looked fairly confident. Not a ton I think you can judge him on, good or bad. You know, he looked fast, he was confident, he ran around a bit.
Here's the thing I was thinking about. Jimmy's has had a green card since we drafted him, right? He's always had one.
No, he has not. He got a green card in like the last month. He did not have a green card.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because if he had, then the question was going to be, why hasn't he been on the supplemental roster the whole year? But
he did not have a green card.
Okay, then that makes more sense.
Yeah.
I will say one of the most valuable members of the Austin FC team is whoever are the attorneys who are working on immigration paperwork. They have done a good job.
They've been the MVP of the team for the last year because they're actually like converting. They're converting chances.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that's a big draw too for, some people in spots abroad. Like, hey, come here, we'll make sure you get a green card.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with some parts of the world kind of blowing up. But all right, I guess our other highlight was we did sign Svatak, who had a pretty good game for Ukraine, even though they crashed out.
Yeah, I mean, he shut down Lukaku and had some good tackles on Kevin De Bruyne. Like, what else could you ask for a new signing?
Yeah. Charles, any other highlights you think we missed, or did we get them all?
You mostly got them all. I think the thing I was impressed with about Svatak, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, he had a really good command of organizing the defense when he was out there, which I think just Austin has consistently suffered from, of just a lack of organization back there, and maybe just having a true adult will just automatically make the defense better because they'll just be set up better.
Yeah, I thought he was really good, and I saw other people mention it in the chat the other day as we were all watching the game instead of working, and he was really good at defending and moving without the ball being anywhere near. It was some folks actually call it active defending, right? I thought I started paying attention a little more to that. Just kind of had my eyes locked on him most of the game because y'all know me, I don't really care who wins or loses if it's not teams I care about. So just watching him, he was consistently active and way different from other defenders that we've had that just kind of seemingly looking around or standing around waiting for the action to come to them, whereas he was proactively reading plays and trying to make step ups. I was just really impressed by him.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing we've been missing from, since Ruben left, is Ruben's the guy who like ran the defense. Weissenen's perfectly good, Heinzeich is good, but neither of them are like screaming out, barking out orders, like running the show. So you do need a little bit of a defensive quarterback, and like Stuver can do it to some extent, but you still need kind of like an actual defender being one of the people to help do that. And if we have another one of those guys, great.
And also just at a certain point, like I feel relatively confident in our center backs, which is a very weird thing to say from the history of Austin FC. Also, Matt Beasler was at the game last night and like was presenting stuff for Sporting Kansas City. Got a nice applause from everyone around. But
good.
But as we're going through this process, it was last night our fullbacks, both Biru and Gallagher, had horrendous games.
Yeah.
And having someone who can communicate stronger with the fullbacks and have them play as a more cohesive unit should make a big difference in this team.
Yeah, and it's a little interesting going from kind of Julio and a couple other guys to what's kind of more referred to as like a modern center back pairing where they're both ball playing, quick guys, read the D, kind of Brad called it active D. I always just think of it as defense. Paolo Maldini has this classic quote where he says, if I have to make a slide tackle, I've already made a mistake. So you should be able to defend without ever having to go to ground, essentially. And it's the same idea. So this is something you'd see more in like a, very pass-heavy European team, which is an interesting note that Roto's put that in essentially, 4 or 5 months?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of... I don't know. I don't love the term like modern because I love the like classic, just big fucker that goes up and hits corners and like smashes people in the box. But like, not too many of those laying around outside of the yo-yo clubs in the Premier League anymore. But I guess we got to talk about Sporting and their goals because I don't really think they like played us off the park or anything. They were the better team in this game, but like I think it was before their second goal or before we had the chance in the second half. I was just group chatting with someone. I said, I think this is one of the worst soccer games I've ever seen in my life. Like on both sides.
No, I feel really bad. There were a ton of national and international journalists who are in town for Copa America who decided to come out and watch that game. Like I saw a post from The Athletic, like, one of their UK writers, this is his first ever MLS game. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, that's what you have to watch as your first MLS game? Like, it could have at least taken him to Atlanta and had some fun.
Sorry, Brad, you want to take us away on that?
If you haven't seen how Atlanta United won last night, just go look it up somewhere. They
97th minute winner.
97th minute. There were 6 extra minutes, so they were getting like the extra. It looked like they had given Atlanta one final attack, and usually the ref will wait for a keeper to clear one out. Balls in the air, and they'll blow the whistle, kind of thing, right? And late. Keeper puts the ball down, ready to boot it out of there and likely be the last play of the game and ended in a 1-1 tie. Doesn't realize he has an Atlanta player sitting right behind him in the net, slow walking. No one alerts him. Puts the ball down on the ground. Atlanta guy takes it from him, scores, game over, 2-1. Just the most ridiculous way possible to lose a game.
But you left out my favorite detail of this.
Sorry.
That Geraltieri saw the keeper's water bottle, drank out of the keeper's water bottle, tossed it down on the ground before making that run.
I mean, I think that's the professional soccer equivalent of like Halo teabagging someone.
I just immediately go to the old Dave Chappelle skit of "fuck your couch."
Yeah, exactly. I believe the Texas phrase is "and the horse you rode in on."
Oh my gosh.
So it's a good watch. It was a lot more exciting than anything that happened in our game. And for me, that's like mostly on the keeper, but also your defenders need to shout at you that like, hey, there's a guy behind you.
Yeah.
Or also, the keeper you need to do a quick 360 scan of everything. Like, you're also like, you're time wasting there. Like, what?
Yeah. Also, if the game's over, just fucking punt it. Why are you setting it on the ground?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. More analysis there than we'll get out of Austin FC because we just sort of did Austin FC things. we were a little unlucky on the opening goal. Sporting was definitely pressing us, and I'm not going to say they didn't, have pressure in our end, and they didn't necessarily not deserve a goal, but basically a guy takes a whack from outside the box that hits off the underside of Gallagher's ass and like weirdly spins with some serious like spin bowler knuckle on it, and then bounces off the post where Stewart can't do anything and in.
Yeah. So the problem with that play before that is that Biru completely gave up on the ball and allowed for the easy cross to get to that spot, and I was very disappointed in that. Like, he just entirely stopped running, thinking the ball was going out.
Yeah, as you mentioned, neither of the fullbacks had a great game. I think Gallagher had a couple decent like runs forward, but defensively, nobody was on fire, I guess we would say.
On fire, yeah. That's kind.
Yeah, I think it's another good example of like what we've talked about recently about just like sometimes you just have to shoot the ball and like good things can happen. And like at least Kansas City was trying to do that instead of Austin's just not doing anything. Just, at some point, like you just have to, especially for a team that's such a bad attacking team, like you have to do something to just try to create some offense.
Yeah, and I mean, like the lower levels you get, like the more throw it at the net and hope something good happens is like a guiding principle. And MLS isn't like a terrible league or anything, but like there are mid to high table Premier League teams that are like, nothing's working. Let's just smack a couple at the goal and hope something good happens.
Yeah.
Something like this, or like keeper drops it, or, Zach Steffens in goal or something like that. And we really got to get to the heart of why we're not shooting the ball, because this has to be a coaching thing, but why? Like some of the Josh things I can sort of like go through mentally and say, oh, well, I guess I sort of understand where he's coming from here, even though I think it's stupid. Like telling your players not to shoot the ball, I don't get.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. It's frustrating too, because just a couple of weeks ago, Josh was saying, well, we got to shoot more. We got to take shots. We got to take our chances. And then we're just back to doing the same old shit. So yeah, to me, it's got to be something that's been coached into him. I will take one objection with what you guys said, like being on fire on the field. There was an absolute dumpster of fire on the field last night. So just be aware of that one.
I miss when that fire was in that dumpster and contained. Yeah. It wasn't great. Like you can watch like bad games where like crazy shit happens, and this was just like dull and terrible and a bunch of fouls. However, I thought a decent performance from the ref.
He missed a few calls. Like it was very chippy early on, and pretty much anytime anyone fell to the ground, even if they were diving, he was giving a foul on it. It was I don't know. He didn't get a theatrical performance, so I'm sure he was disappointed.
Yeah, there was one. I think there's one thing that stood out where Galley beat like 3 other players, and 2 of them tried to haul him back, and he never gave anybody a yellow card on it or anything. But I mean, given our previous 2 Saturdays, there were super obvious missed handballs and stuff like that. I'll take it.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty inconsistent.
Yeah,
like that was my biggest frustration. You just couldn't tell. Early in the game, it was tight, then it loosened up, and just from one play to another, you had no idea what he was going to whistle and what he wasn't. So yeah, it was not great in my mind, but at the same time, like you said, considering what VAR and other refs have done lately, it's acceptable, I guess, for this league, but that's a very low bar.
Yeah, I mean, speaking to the inconsistency, like he gave both teams cards for dissent last night. That's usually a bad sign.
Yeah.
Just in the manner of like, and one was like Diego Rubio, who wasn't near the play at all when Davis kicked Ring in the face, and it took him a long time before like he yellow carded Davis for that, and at one point it really looked like they were only going to card Diego for dissent instead of kicking someone in the face.
Generally frowned upon, but this is CONCACAF, this is MLS.
I mean, Copa America, I'm not even sure that's a foul.
Not against the Panama game the other night.
I mean, somebody, one of the Canadian players just like elbowed somebody in the head and didn't even call for foul last night. So who knows?
Yeah, like straight up intentional I was wondering if they were going to use the same, like James Madison got away with one where he just hauled off and punched a dude in the stomach off the ball, and the cameras caught it, and the ref's looking at it. He's like, "Well, his fist was only like 85% clenched, not 100% clenched, so it's not, violent conduct." And everybody's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" So
Hear
it's
me
not
out.
just a CONCACAF thing, but
Euros with CONCACAF referees.
Oh my gosh!
people would die.
If you had, I mean, would anyone have made it to the end of the Turkey-Czechia game earlier this week?
No. I was going to say advantage Eastern European teams. Yeah, I don't know. Charles, do you have any like tactical analysis for us here on why we were so shit and KC like again wasn't good but clearly better than us? Or is it just the road game?
I mean, it's a road game, but it's also that, like, as Josh said, like, one team really wanted the 3 points, and one team played like it'd just be nice if we won, and that was pretty clear. It's weird that the coach of the team that played like it'd be nice if we won just kind of says that as a matter of fact instead of like being angry that his team played that way or to try to like do something to like change things up or to stop it. But that's how we play every road match. Like that is just the nature of how this team plays this year.
Yeah, and a lot of people are upset about that quote, and I think rightly so. Is there any way Josh is trying to like say that as a way to like stick the knife in his own players or like motivate them or something? Or is he just so checked out and secure in his job that he's like, well, it'd be nice if we won, but I guess it doesn't really matter.
So I read it. Go ahead.
Sorry, I think it's the opposite. I think he knows he's going to get fired, and he's trying to spin a narrative of what's wrong with the team to where he can get another job. And I pity the fan base who ends up having him as a head coach again, because we will eventually join the Josh Wolf Antisocial Club. Will be more than just Austin.
Oh, it's going to be Chicago, and Seth's going to have to deal with it again.
Oh, but
Don't do that to Seth.
But that implies that despite having Fire season tickets that I actually care about the Chicago Fire, and like I go to Chicago Fire games for the lulz. Josh Wolf coaching the team would be for the lulz.
This is hopeless. This might as well happen.
Yeah. I just assume it's Chicago too because he played there, right? So I could see that.
You know what I have to say? So wait a minute. Have any of you guys been? Well, I think Devin, you've been to Sporting Park or Children's Mercy Park before, right?
Yeah, I've been to Livestrong Park.
Livestrong Park. So this actually might not have been in the Livestrong Park era of this, but there are 12 names on the Sporting KC Ring of Honor, and 3 of them were on the touchline last night. Which is crazy that both. No. Beasler's not in it yet. Beasler is not in it yet. No.
Wolf is one.
Wolf and Davey Arnaud are both in it.
Oh,
okay.
And Peter Vermees is somehow already in it, despite still being an active employee of the club.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna ask us to name all of them, and I was like,
no, I wasn't gonna
I was saying Espinoza, who just retired, I assumed would be on there.
No, so he's not in there yet. But I gotta say, but we're talking about. I mean, yes, they did have a nice retirement celebration for Roger Espinoza, who was right behind us at the Current game as well, because his wife plays for the KC Current. But Roger Espinoza still has achieved one of the greatest feats in human history. And I think at least some of you know what I'm talking about here, is that Roger Espinoza, like most of his career starting with the Kansas City Wizards and Sporting KC, but took 2 years and played at Wigan, and played in 180 minutes, managed to both win an FA Cup and get relegated in the same week.
Yeah.
On a team on a team managed by Roberto Martinez, who managed to get a promotion after that to Everton. Or maybe was that a promotion? I don't know.
I mean, they didn't get relegated, so that was a promotion. Then he got a promotion to coach the Belgian Golden Generation, fucked that up, and now he's coaching one of the most stacked teams in Europe in Portugal. Yeah. So if there are betting odds about who's going to replace Gareth Southgate, I might throw a $5 on Roberto Martinez just for, continuity's sake.
England deserves that.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to get into it, but they definitely do. Second goal is kind of simple. Biro gets beat. Nobody moves over and stops the ball. Good run on the back post. Johnny Russell puts it in between Stuver and the defender through the zone of uncertainty. Tap in goal. Anything else here or anything I missed?
No.
Just lack of organization on the back line. If you watch, if you stop it when Russell plays the ball across, you kind of see all the Austin defenders kind of not doing anything. They're not blocking passes. They're not marking people. They're not really in space. Like, it's something that we see with the Austin team if they try to like establish a defending spot and then move back out instead of like defending on the way. And that's how you end up with somebody wide open on the back post and the right back, nowhere even near him.
Yeah, and this is another one of those plays where a Gabrielson or possibly a Svatic would come in handy, like scream at the guy, like, go stop the fucking ball, and then we'll deal with the like fallout after it. But it seemed like everybody was like, okay, back to the funnel and like a little tentative about what to do. No brawls, no handballs. There wasn't a ton to talk about in this game.
No, it reminded me a lot of the Orlando game, where it's just like, well, that was shit. And hey, there's fireworks or a concert after the game too. Great.
Yeah, we did get fireworks. They were pretty good. Right over the Kansas Speedway. And yeah, I'll say it is a remarkably hard stadium to, even though it has free parking. Google takes you away to the lot there. Every entrance is closed because the racetrack isn't open. So it was sort of like playing a game of whack-a-mole to actually get into the parking lot.
Lost in Kansas is not exactly where I'd want to be.
Yeah, and then we had the very disappointing experience of we stayed for the fireworks, so we didn't get to the casino after the game until about 10:40, and they did. And when Sporting KC wins, everyone gets free nachos at the casino, but the restaurant closes at the casino except for like the shitty fast food place at 11 o'clock. And even though we were at the host stand by 10:45, they refused to seat us and did not give us our free nachos.
Just horrible customer service all around. Was that worse than the game?
Leslie did win $80 on penny slots, so some people left the casino happy.
I was gonna say, did anybody at least put some money down on the blackjack table and see?
Well, I will say the blackjack tables were fairly full. The $15 tables were completely full, and we saw them. $20 tables were pretty full. There was a person who I met yesterday who is a Austin FC fan who decided to have his bachelor party at that game, and wow, like, I'm a sicko, but I wouldn't even do that.
Yeah, my bachelor party was watching a 3-9 Auburn team lose to Vanderbilt.
Okay, then I take some things back here.
They tried to warn you. Speaking of the casino and scared money don't make money, can we confirm the appearance of the money gun and banner and that they're safe and ready to go today?
They will be transported, and we will see if the lovely staff at the University of Kansas lets them in. They are aware that things are maybe coming, but they seem pretty chill. And most of the people were on vacation this week because the University of Kansas doesn't really care about this complex.
No. It's
yes.
Not the basketball court. They don't care.
Yes. But if they I don't know. I'd be down for a futsal game inside Allen Fieldhouse. That sounds fun.
But those sound fun. Even I'd do that.
Yeah.
All right. I really don't know if we have anything else in this game to talk about. We kind of mentioned Jimmy. I didn't see any. Did anybody watch the press conference and see Heinz Eich's comments?
I read about him through Phil's stuff, but I didn't actually watch the press conference.
Okay, what did he say? Because I've just sort of seen reactions and I haven't been fully able to find him because I haven't looked.
It was to the point of like, we didn't play well enough. We didn't deserve to win. We have to do better. And I will say Heinz Eich spent a minute and a half with the traveling supporters last night, which is more than a lot of. Seba waved. Stuver came over for a bit, but otherwise it was a get out of there as fast as possible.
Yeah. All right. Charles, I want you to expand on this Wolf already knows he's fired theory. Is that going to happen at Leagues Cup?
So I think my impression based on comments is that anything less than making the playoffs and he's fired. And you look at where Austin is now and the schedule coming up, I think there's a very real chance that after we likely get embarrassed by two Liga MX teams that he's gone. But it seems to me like for the last year, dating back to last season, Wolf has consistently talked about the roster as a limitation and has tried to deflect blame to players as much as he can. Like, I think a lot of some of the Wolf out sentiment is also that, like, he never takes accountability for anything. He never acts like, there's some kind of like flaw in his plan or ideas or coaching or system that, what they talk about in practice or what they work on in practice doesn't show up in games. And like, if that's the case, then like, and especially when it keeps happening for 4 seasons now, you have to have like some kind of sense of introspection to improve what you're doing, because you should be able to have enough insight that what you're doing it doesn't work. And Wolf doesn't have that. And I think that's why ultimately, like, I think Redo sees that. And I think all of his comments last year were just things that had to be said. But I think there's no way that Josh survives this season.
Okay.
As a coach. I think he'll live, sorry. But like, I don't think he'll be coach for sure.
Just avoid 747s and he'll be fine.
Or speaking out about 747s and their problems. That's really the...
Yes, that's actually probably a bigger danger to you at this point. Yeah, and I mean, like you said, it's season 4 of this. And, I understand in like 2021, the roster sucks. Fair. I have these great game plans and nobody's doing it. Fine. Season 4, if you're like, well, I don't know why they're not doing what we do in practice. Like, dude, that's your fucking job.
Yeah.
And I don't get how like either he nor like, certain segments of the fan base are like, yeah, like the players just start doing what Josh says. It's like, well, Josh's job is to get them to do what he says. How do you not understand this?
Yeah, that's the biggest frustration with me with him is and Charles said it's lack of accountability. There's seemingly I'm always right, no one else is ever wrong. The incredulousness with the way that he responded to Phil's question last night on a topic that Josh opened up was telling to me. Because Josh had said something to the effect of, we've got players who, when we get some extra reinforcements, our guys back, it allows us to, the bench is a real motivator. And Phil, with a legitimate follow-up question, goes, who are some of those players that could potentially be heading to the bench? And Josh just incredulously goes, Phil, we're not going to do that here. Like, dude, you brought it up.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if everybody's...
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm not sure if everybody saw it, but like Berhalter this week got asked a serious question about if they don't make it out of the group, if his job's on the line. And he actually glitches. Like, he glitches out for like 10 seconds while he's trying to like process how to answer the question correctly. And I feel like Josh every once in a while in the press conference does that because he just doesn't know how to like spin the question into a way to not place blame on himself.
Well, I don't really get this either because they were both professional athletes, and like media training 101 is you don't answer the question they asked, you answer the question you want to answer. And so like you take the tangent and then you just go, oh, well, I want to say it this way. And then you just move on. So I normally don't care about like Wolf doesn't say anything in press conferences, but this one seemed a little out there to me. Like you said, maybe he's a little flustered and glitched out or sad to see Greg actually under pressure or something or what. But our guys just didn't want to, thought winning might be nice. And I agree. And that's sort of the mentality. Like, are the wheels coming off or are we just kind of reading too much into this?
I think he's starting to finally feel the pressure. I do. And I think he knows that a large portion of the fan base is not happy with him and wants him gone. He made a comment last night too about, well, a lot of folks have been Wolf out since year one, so I don't worry about them too much. It's like, dude, because I think Jorge asked the question. And That's a very dismissive take to me over real concerns. And the problem that one of the biggest problems Josh has is that he doesn't address real concerns to try to give people faith that he's actually got this shit on track. And I think that's something I'd like our media to ask him is, hey, like, fans are worried. You keep saying thin roster. You keep saying that we don't have a full complement, all that stuff. But what are you doing to mitigate these problems? What are you doing to motivate players to play your system when you're saying they're not executing, or when you're saying they're not giving the effort that needed to happen, just like last night where you said, hey, one team was there to win and one team wasn't, and we weren't? Why is that the case? Why did you get off the bus with no energy looking to play? Because that's, as you've said, Devin, that's a Josh Wolf head coaching problem. That is your job as a coach to have a team ready to play. I just want that question answered. What are you doing during the week that is translating to poor performance after poor performance, especially on the road?
Yeah, and like, give us something to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh, we tried this differently and it didn't work. Okay, you're trying something different, or we flipped the wings or something. Like, hey, we're going to try to like push down the right more instead of the left. We're going to try to pinch in more. Something.
He often acts like his tactics are state secrets, even post game. And you're right there, because he does not give you any insight into what his thought process is during a game. It's maddening.
So I just pulled this up. Josh Wolf was hired on July 23rd, 2019. Obviously, he was working with the U.S. team, but technically he has been the head coach of Austin FC longer than Mikel Arteta is the coach at Arsenal. And that was at least as big of a rebuild as building this team up. Obviously, like, very different circumstances, different league, different caliber of players. But, like, you look at some of the other guys, like, Graham Potter, like, built out Brighton, got promoted. Aston Villa was in the fucking championship in 2019. Like, there are things you can do that can be done. And it's just, like you said, it's frustrating that there's nothing to give us, like, any hope, right? Because he was like, no, we had this really great week in practice, and, like, they smashed us earlier. We got this weird red, yellow card and set us out. But, like, we're going to get them next week. Like, something to be like, oh, next week will be better. I don't, like, just do the bare minimum.
It says a lot to me that this team's killer instinct and willingness to fight dropped off the moment that Gabrielson went back to Europe. We occasionally will see a flash of this team's willingness to want to come back and want to fight for a full 90. But since he's been gone, those are few and far between.
Even during, like, 2022. Yeah, go ahead.
And I thought Diego Rubio was going to bring some of that. And I've been a bit disappointed to see that he hasn't. And I also did not mention earlier, he picked up another yellow last night. So that means we will not have him for the NYCFC match on next Saturday.
Oh, I didn't realize he was suspended.
Yeah. Full 90 Jossie in the heat. Full 90 Jossie in the heat.
Play Owen at striker.
Play CJ at striker.
What's Pino's stuff?
We'll have Julio back by then. Julio at striker.
Yeah.
Yeah, could we actually do a Pino short-term loan?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah, I feel like that's the backup option, since we can't actually just, like, fill out our supplemental slots.
Would we run into any issues with him taking up an international slot, especially since we don't have the GT thing sorted out?
I will be very curious. We're recording, 9:30-ish now on Sunday. I'll be very curious if we get a resolution on that in the next 14 and a half hours.
Gonna be fun.
Or watch, like, Musa just comes off and starts on Saturday.
I'd be fine with that.
I'd be fine with it too. I actually think Musa would fit with this team really well.
Yeah. All right. I don't know. Any other bits and bobs before we do the format stuff, and then we can yell about the US? All right. Cool. Seth, do you want to go first on stock rising?
Stock rising. You know what? Because we haven't said it. Owen Wolf had a good game last night. Like he won. He had a couple good runs. He was presence in the midfield. He won a bunch of tackles. He looked like a respectable player out there. It must be kind of weird walking into a stadium where your dad is effectively in the Hall of Fame of this team, but Owen played pretty well last night.
Yeah, he still disappears for 10, 15, 20-minute stretches a little bit, but, it's not like anybody was great yesterday, so.
Yeah, he was the only player that I was like, oh, he actually did respectful last night.
Yeah. Charles, you want to go next?
Yeah, so in the sense of like the roster is kind of depleted, I thought the stock rising last night is Giassi Zardes as a defender, and maybe like that's worth trying. I mean, he doesn't have any goals so far this season. There were a couple times in the box where he looked really good. He shut out Johnny Russell on the wing at one point, which is more than I could say about our actual left back last night. So maybe it's worth a shot, and maybe that's where Giassi's second half of his career goes.
Yeah, I mean, even when he comes in, he tends to be playing more in our box than the opponents. So we'll see. Maybe it's a move he can do. Brad, how about you?
Stock rising is underlying metrics.
Woo!
Yeah. Math. All year we've been saying this team is not a playoff team. This team is not good enough to be a playoff team. The metrics are showing it. And you wake up this morning and this team is outside the playoff line. It's starting to catch up with us over the course of 34 games. It can't continue the way we have been playing all year and have this team somehow find their way into the postseason.
We have 3 or 4 more games before Leagues Cup?
4 more. 3 home, 1 road. The road game is in Dallas, so we don't actually leave the state. Most likely, because I'm assuming we're going 2 in barbecue in the Leagues Cup. We probably don't have to leave the state except for a quick trip to Dallas for the next month and a half.
Well, I mean, you could technically say that's South Oklahoma, but
yes,
for tax purposes, we don't have to leave the state, I guess.
Yes, but there's a solid month and a half there where we're most likely not going to have to, the 1 day trip up to Dallas, but otherwise don't even have to leave Austin.
Are you getting worried about leagues or Copa Tejas?
No, because for me, Copa Tejas is a nice to win. It's not a must win. I like winning it. Sure, it's fun. It's fun to talk a little smack occasionally, but I'm more concerned with the long-term health of this club than I am winning that trophy right now.
Sure, and I mean, to me, like winning Copa Tejas every year should be like an afterthought, fun thing. Like, oh, haha, look, we locked it up today.
Yeah, like my biggest fear, honestly, is they could use Copa Tejas to paper over results.
Yeah,
because people care too much about it.
Yeah, I think we can touch on that too with the whole like psychological can losing be winning, can winning be losing thing.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that in a different segment. Seth or Charles, any Copa Tejas worries?
It would be hilarious if Josh got fired for not winning Copa Tejas.
Oh, okay. I want that to happen now. Because because so many people became Wolf out like in the famous like no DP game in 2021, because he didn't care about Copa Tejas, and so that like coming back to like stab him in the back would just be like perfectly written irony. One of the things I don't think people have noticed yet is that Dallas has a lot of fixture congestion coming up. They played last night against Cincinnati. They play on the 4th, the 7th, 13th, and the 17th against Austin.
They play on the 10th in Kansas City as well. You missed an open cup.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The announcers kept mentioning Kansas City schedule congestion because of U.S. Open Cup, and it's roughly the same thing for Dallas, I think.
Yeah, and most of the league plays Wednesday, Thursday this week, and we do not.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah. No, I got
Dallas and KC are going to play twice in 4 days later in about a week or so.
Oh yeah. See, I thought that was a typo.
No, that's U.S. Open Cup and then a league match.
Nice. Okay. No, now that Seth put that in my head, well, and I guess too, like Josh has been pumping up like rivalry Copa Tejas stuff more too. So I don't know if that's his, like, this is how I keep my job route or something.
Yeah.
That's what it feels
I know.
like. That's what it feels like. And I agree. Now that I think about it, him losing his job over Koteas might be the funniest firing in league history. But I do think there are, and I love all y'all listening, I do think there are certain segments of our fan base that put way too much importance on that trophy.
100% agreed.
Yeah, like I always think it's fun and, you know, it's a good fan created trophy, but and it's something we should win every year and it matters, but it's not, you know, would you rather win Copa Tejas or US Open Cup? Like, give me Open Cup even diluted any day of the week.
It's the fourth most important trophy we play for.
Yeah. All right. I guess I have to do one of these now, don't I? Stock rising. Away food prices. Seth, you showed us a slider box.
Yeah,
I had to think about that one.
Yeah, so I decided to. It's like, okay, we had a bunch of hungry fans because we had a parking lot tailgate before the game with lots of good beers and other stuff. So it's like, okay, they have this slider box. It's 6 sliders. Sliders were not great, but mozzarella sticks are pretty solid. Onion rings and tots for $26.
Yeah, that's a solid like sampler platter
Yeah, they
in
also
a
have
stadium.
They also had a bucket of fried chicken, French fries, and something else that was fried that I just looked at and I'm like, nope, I'm not touching that. I can only give myself one heart attack in a day.
I'm gonna lightly offend Brad here, but now that I'm in my 30s, I no longer order food by the bucket.
No, that doesn't offend me. No. After the mistake I made last Monday night, that does not offend me.
Oh God,
Okay.
how many wings did you have?
I ended up with 28 plus the side of fries that they gave you, and a few beers. It was a lot. It took me. I literally did not eat on Tuesday.
I routinely do that where like I'll go out and get something on like Saturday or Sunday and be like, oh, that's way more food than I thought it was, and then like end up eating all of it. And then I'm like, I just don't need to eat for about 36 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Drink
gonna have
plenty of water.
I was gonna say I'm gonna have a green juice this morning. Like, I need a cleanse after that.
Yeah. Health tips with suffering from joy. All right. The options are legion. Charles, do you want to do stock falling?
All you can eat wings are suffering from joy, by the way.
Yes. I think that's the entire idea of all you can eat.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Charles.
No, that was more important than anything going on in the last episode. Stock falling. I'm going to go with Greg and his disciples.
Yes.
After what happened with the U.S. team and how at the beginning of the season there were 3 of his former assistants as head coaches in MLS, and now there's only one, and it's Josh, who everybody thinks is who everybody thinks is going to get fired any day now. Really doesn't speak well to what USSF is doing, or what their plan is, or how they've affected MLS. And the best thing that they really can do is, or the best thing that Roto really can do going forward is to not be involved in that organization when it comes to picking a coach or really anybody who's involved with the team.
Their plan is to continue to graft and rule their tiny fiefdom as if they were real kings as long as possible.
Exactly. And I know that like BJ Callahan is getting linked to Nashville, but that move hasn't materialized yet. And so I'm hesitant to think it's going to happen because of the way Copa America is going.
Yeah, not great. I think we'll go ahead and touch on the U.S. stuff after we finish through this, because I don't want to like launch in and then get lost. And so we'll come back to it. But yeah, I mean, if we could just avoid the whole U.S. soccer, U.S. men's national team shit, the next coach we get, like, I'll immediately consider it a success. But we'll see. Brad, you want to go next?
Stock falling is friendly media. Jorge Iturralde loves to say, quote unquote, there are people in our media that are super friendly and not hard enough on Josh. Hardest questions last night were asked by, quote unquote, that friendly media. I thought Phil West and Moises did a really good job kind of holding Josh to the fire a bit last night. And hopefully that narrative about being friendly versus being fair is it will get washed away by certain members of our media who are not really media trained.
Yeah, and I mean it's a fine line, right? Because you can ask like a tough question in a nice sounding way.
Yeah.
And some people see that coming across as, you're being too soft, or, vice versa, right? Like you ask not like a softball, but like not the worst question in the world, but you say it in kind of like a, difficult framing, and it gets perceived down totally differently. But yeah, I do find it interesting to see the kind of interactions that people have and criticisms of our media, just like, well, they're too nice, or they're too harsh, or Jorge's lost it, or Josh never tells us everything, and it's like Josh's job isn't to tell you everything. But
no, yeah, there's so many layers to some folks who cover our media. I have strong opinions on certain members, largely due to my background, and the degrees on the wall and what I've studied and just know, but I will leave those to another day.
Yeah. Let's get rid of Wolf first, and then we can do like a mutiny on the, journalists, and then, we'll go from there. Then eventually we'll take the whole club. All right. Oh shit, I wasn't supposed to say that out loud. Seth.
I mean, there's so many choices to go here, but I'm just going to go with passing into the box, because we completed one pass into the opposing 18-yard box last night. So that can be on wingers, that can be on midfielders, but like, you are a professional soccer team getting played against a team that had not had a clean sheet in 17 consecutive matches, and we had one pass that was successfully completed into the box last night.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a fair amount about how stats are overrated, but I don't think that's one that's really overrated. Final third entries, passes into the box, zone 14 touches.
Yes, you can get to a point. Yes, if we had Diego Maradona doing runs down the side and getting into the goal, sure, then this would not be an issue. However, Maradona's corpse, his cocaine-infused corpse, is not coming up from Argentina or Italy or wherever it actually is to save this team at this point.
Oh, we could write a bad, like, quick little semi-horror fantasy about resurrecting Diego Maradona with his Buenos Aires watch.
Oh,
I was gonna say, Cocaine Zombie sounds awesome.
Yeah. Rather watch that than an Austin FC game. Saying.
Well, I mean, Cocaine Bear was already great, so I'm assuming Cocaine Zombie would be just as good.
Is that the sequel? That. Is it all the people? Actually, don't. It's actually really bad. They don't understand. They don't understand that it's supposed to be a joke the whole time. It's very strange. It's a weird tonal movie. All right. No, so as a sequel, I think Cocaine Zombie would actually be really funny.
Okay, we'll work on it.
Wait, did you just say Cocaine Bear was bad?
Yeah.
Oh, sir, we have to have a conversation offline about this. This is not okay.
All right, watch Escape to Victory, and then we'll do it all as one conversation.
What a double feature, though.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I have two, and I'm not going to pick on any Austin FC players, actually. My first one is Scotland manager Steve Clark, who thought that Scotland should have had a penalty. I think the nice gentleman Stuart Armstrong should have just stayed on his feet and kicked the ball in the net. But after the game, he made some comments. There's, I think it's Italy and Argentina are doing like a referee swap program.
Yes.
Where Argentine referees referee in Italy, Italian referees referee in Argentina. I think we have an Italian ref in Copa America, and this was an Argentine ref in the Euros. And so Steve Clark said, oh, it's obviously a penalty. Like, I don't think we have, the ref should have been there. We need a European ref. It's because he doesn't speak the language. So I'm going to let you guys pick this quote apart and see which part of it's your favorite. Charles, you want to go first?
I think the speak the language part is probably the worst.
Okay, which aspect?
I mean, one, like, I think we've all seen the memes about how anytime somebody with a Scottish accent tries to use any kind of voice recognition, it doesn't work. Like it just automatically nopes out. So I think that's I think that's like the most obvious one of like we're deciding like the Scotland team's deciding what is and isn't English, which I think is funny. I'm gonna defer to everybody else on the rest because I want to hear the opinions.
I was going to say let's take one and move on each. Seth, you want to go?
So I've got two takes on this. So first of all, Argentina is the most European country outside of Europe possible. Buenos Aires is a city of Italian immigrants who speak Spanish with German architecture and French boulevards. Like, they are freaking Europeans. Stop this. And also, like, you're playing Hungary. Are we expecting the Hungarian players to have a referee that speaks Scottish? Like, what?
Like old Gaelic.
Yes.
Classical Gaelic. Yeah, I've got a few still. Brad, you want to go?
No, I think it's funny that you have to quote unquote speak a certain language to understand the international laws of soccer.
No, not a certain language. The language. There's only one.
Sorry. Yes, the language. Apologies.
Yes.
I don't know. That just seems very odd to me because the laws don't change depending on what continent you're on in this sport.
No, and he's also like going after
unless you're in
South
CONCACAF.
American. Yeah.
Sorry.
CONCACAF is its own language.
Caveat.
Like music. Yeah, but he's going after a South American ref for not being European, and like pretty much every country in Europe doesn't speak English, at least on a national language level.
Yeah.
I mean, it's used pretty commonly just because it's kind of the lingua franca of the world right now. But yeah, just that, like a Scottish person defending what's essentially English imperialism, forcing the English language on them. There's only one language. I think we hit the good ones. And also the fact that, you know, they could have given it a penalty, but it's not. I'll put it this way: both of the Austin FC handballs were much better shouts than this was.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go move on to my second one, which is everybody in the stadium in Sunrise, Florida, that didn't boo Gary Bettman.
Yes.
On Monday.
Terrible.
Yeah, and so I'm normally like, hey, you know, whatever. Teams in the Sun Belt, a lot of them, you know, have come from like the Northeast or have hockey backgrounds or something. You know, they still can know hockey. Some of them probably don't, but this is an ironclad sacred right of the Stanley Cup playoffs, which, as we all know, is the greatest tournament in sports. And every year, the NHL commissioner, who I think has been the commissioner since like 1992, awards the Stanley Cup to the winning team. In this case, it was the home team. And no matter what, if you're the home team, if you're the away team, when they announce the commissioner before he, you know, actually hands the cup off, everybody in the stands boos him. It unites the two teams that just fought it out for the title. This was a game 7, won by 1 goal, so it was already a very tight game. We all need a little healing. We all boo Gary Bettman, and if they were booing, it was not audible at all. So I don't know. And
it was completely unacceptable. And here's the problem. I know they're in South Florida. I understand they're in Sunrise. Look where Sunrise is on a map, and you'll understand why the stadium is in Sunrise. It's because they're really close to the retirement community, specifically like Boca, where all the northern retirees live, who should know better.
Yeah. So get your shit together, greater Miami area.
It's absolutely unacceptable. I will say, though, I do enjoy the fact that they were taking the cup the next morning down South Beach into the ocean. And people were just walking by like, what the hell is that thing?
Yeah, there's a great video of, I assume, a still drunk Matthew Tkachuk that was taken from like a hotel camera or something, where he's just like drunk wandering around like the beach trying to cross the street at like 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I also did not realize that the NHL did not have a commissioner before Gary Bettman, that they had presidents before that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's roughly the same job, but...
Yes. But yeah, 32-year tenure is quite something.
Yeah, and 31 of them made sense, but this one doesn't. And there are a lot of reasons, I'm not going to get into it, about why Gary Bettman gets booed by everyone, but let's just say he's more reviled across the board than Don Garber.
Who has also been in the job way too long.
Yeah. And they did have some cool stuff. Like Roberto Luongo's already been eating pasta out of the cup, and we'll see what kind of cool stuff. Maybe we should do this for Copa Tejas, actually. So there's a rule or tradition that every player gets to take the Stanley Cup and have their own day with it. They get to do whatever the hell they want. Some people eat poutine out of it. Some people take it snowboarding, something like that. So I think we should do that with Copa Tejas. Yeah, Vladimir Tarasenko, who actually just won, put his 3-day-old kid in there when he won with the Blues.
Yeah, no, there have been kids that have pooped and peed in it because their little babies got stuck in there. There's all kinds of things that happen in that cup. It's crazy.
Yeah, but now those kids will never win one. So
yeah,
those are the rules. Yeah, not to turn this into a hockey myth podcast, but let's go ahead and do moments of suffering real quick. Brad, you want to go first?
I mean, mine's the post-game presser, honestly, because the game itself, I've seen that before, so it's kind of hard to just pick a moment or two because that's same shit, different day. The press conference last night and the quote of especially the quote of one team needing to win and the other being happy to win is baffling and a fireable offense for itself in my eyes.
Yeah, Seth.
Well, we'll pivot on to the U.S. side, but I still think Tim Weah's red card was more of a moment of suffering than anything I saw from Austin FC last night because my expectations were already so low.
Yeah. I will say this about Josh and Greg. They're very good about getting me to disassociate with caring about soccer teams. Charles, how about you?
There's a moment in the 37th minute where John Gallagher had the ball and was attacking, and he played a ball to no one in the box. And one of the announcers said, "That's an interesting pass." And I realized that our team is not fun or exciting or good to watch. We're just kind of interesting in a very bad way.
And an anthropological, I want to study this way.
Yeah, and like in the future, somebody will watch this game film and be like, "That's so interesting. Why did they intentionally try not to score?"
Try to figure out what were these reads for that they used. Yeah, that's good. Good choice. Kind of goes with Seth's passing into the box, stock falling. I'm going to like Brad said, it's everything, and we've seen it before, so it's hard to pick one thing. But I'm going to go with the second I figured out we were wearing the barcode kits because I at least like the look of the Dillos. But now we looked like shit and played like shit.
I did have the lovely thought last night. We're only 3 months away from the barcode kits forever being gone.
I mean, that's something to look forward to.
Okay, but Monkey's Paw, then we have to see what the new kits look like.
From people who have seen it, I've been told they're better.
But that's not a hard one.
Yeah, we'll take better.
I mean, low bar.
Yeah. Speaking of low bars, we kind of talked about this in our chat last night, but the last time Austin FC scored 2 or more goals in a match was September 2nd of last year, which is 10 months.
Oh, on the road. We've done it at home.
On the road, yeah, sorry, on the road. And it was the game that Alex Ring just said, fuck it, and hit one and scored our second goal at the end of the New England Revolution game.
Yeah. We've scored 5 all year on the road. That's really hard to do.
It's amazing we've won 2 matches on the road.
Yeah. One was that Ring penalty against Real Salt Lake. Didn't we have another Owen kind of?
We've scored 3 goals from open play in 10 road matches.
And that's 2 open play goals in 7 matches now.
Yeah.
It's not good enough, guys. Hopefully the reinforcements help.
Oh, I'd like to also mention that I think 13 of our last 14 or 12 of our last 13, how many games we got left, are against teams above the playoff line currently.
Yep.
Also not good. Yeah.
But they would have just been happy with 3 points last night. Yeah. They didn't need. It wasn't a must-win game against a bad team in your conference or something.
So let's look at this. So there are 4 teams that are below us in the Western Conference. We have now played all 4 of them on the road and have gotten 1 point.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yes,
just a little bit. Yeah, the only and the only team, by the way, currently not above the playoff line that we still have to play is Frisco, a road match.
Where we don't have a historically great record.
Correct.
All right. I'm getting more sad talking about this. So let's talk about the U.S. That'll cheer me up, right? Right?
It's interesting, though, when you look at the standings, there's a clear delineation right now between 10th, where we are, and Frisco in 11th. There's a 7-point gap. They do have a game in hand, but they're still – Colorado is in 4th, and they're at 31. Like, the turnaround – and I think this is what's so frustrating from the standpoint of looking at why we still have our coach employed. You feel like maybe a shift in tactics, shift in mentality, whatever the case may be, could get this team into a respectable playoff position without much work. You don't need much to get into 5th, 6th place right now.
No, but do we have it? That just sort of makes it sadder.
3 home games coming up this month, where we should be able to use the heat to our advantage, considering the teams that are coming in. If we don't make hay now, when do we make hay?
Yeah, I guess the Hail Mary is get the new guys in, get everybody up and running for a month after we blow out a League's Cup, and just go on a tear to end the season. And it's a playoff format, so that could help us. And
it's happened before in MLS, where the
Yeah.
last 10 games, Portland did it just a few years ago and won the whole damn thing. But I don't see it.
Yeah, because that would also require us to dramatically improve our road form.
Yeah.
And I don't think 3 players is going to do that, because part of it, like we mentioned, is an attitude problem. So, don't know. Seth, you want to lead us off on the U.S. since you're going to the game?
Oh gosh, it is I know Brad went to the Bolivia match, and we actually played pretty well in that, but we are very much regretting not finishing more than 2 goals after Uruguay beat them 5-0 earlier this week. And then the Panama match, Tim Weah gets a really, really Did Matt Turner get completely run over and hurt, and there was no foul called? Yes, that was outrageous. However, that doesn't justify what Tim Weah did, which likely is going to knock this team out of Copa America and getting a stupid red card. Flo Balogun did have an amazing goal right after that, but we decided we conceded back, and then we decided to move to 3 center backs, and that didn't really work. And we had a deserved loss against Panama, as sad as that is to say.
Yeah, and I think the choice of bringing Horvath along as the backup keeper is, the guy's fucking scared of the ball. I don't know what to say. If you're a goalkeeper, you can't be scared of the ball.
I would have put Sean Johnson in over him.
Yeah. I'm far from the world's biggest Sean Johnson fan, but give me him over Horvath any day of the week.
Yeah, that second goal cannot go in. Period.
Yeah.
Nope. That every replay looks worse. Like, his hands literally go up, and they just it looks like a caricature of somebody doing a comedy sketch of not being able to catch a football and it hitting them in the face or something.
Yeah.
It's so bad. And that's on Greg, shift into the 3 center backs and putting him in a keeper, putting him on the roster in general. Tim Weah put the team behind the 8 ball, and games mostly I would lay at his feet, but you could salvage a draw out of that, and then you're still very much alive. Really, more than we need, the point we need to block Panama from getting 3.
Yeah, I was going to say, I still, even with a draw, if we had gotten it on Tuesday, I would not feel good about Monday night. Now, Panama is going to be missing Carrasquilla, which is going to hurt their ability to score some goals. But I think they would have been able to potentially make up the gap on us in goal differential no matter what. The question is, what kind of lineup does Uruguay put out there on Monday night? Do they rest? Do they rotate? I would if I were them, just because I know people say it's not the sporting thing to do, but you know what? They've earned it. I'm always of the opinion that if you win your 2 games and you get the opportunity to rest your guys and set yourself up, you've earned that opportunity. Do what you want to do. You owe nothing to anyone else. The Bolivia game, you mentioned it for the U.S. I was there. just did not finish enough opportunities. I walked out and I was with our friend Audius, and we stopped at a Whataburger on the way home, about an hour outside of Dallas. And somebody, as we're walking out back to the car, goes, "Oh, good game, huh?" Because a few people from the game apparently had stopped there. And I went, "No, we should have won 4 or 5-0." Like, it really wasn't. Like, and that's not one I lay at Greg. Like, actually, tactically, we played fine. I thought that was our best soccer we played in quite a long time. It's not Pepe was in the right spots. He just didn't finish in the second half. And I thought coming into the tournament, we had the conversation of who has to need the big tournament, and it needed to be our striker. I thought we all kind of agreed that Flo really needed a big tournament to solidify himself as the starting striker. He's doing that. But man, Ricardo Pepi is missing way too many easy opportunities right now for this team.
Yeah, and I think some of that's bad luck for Pepe, but at some point that adds up, and you're like, well, I just need the ball to go in the net. I don't care if it's lucky.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Balogun had a rough game in the one you went to because it was like he didn't play like super fantastic. I think some of this is people not spotting runs, but he had a few chances I thought he should have put away, and then like he gets a goal, so it's kind of, yeah, he got the goal, but maybe could have played better, could have put a couple more in, and then he just scored that like absolute worldie against Panama, and at that point I was kind of like, okay, we should be able to bunker in and like, you know, play the ball out, have a little bit of a counterattack, and at least get out of here with a draw. And we didn't. So, but yeah, you sort of brought this point up earlier about, you know, if we lose and get rid of Wolf, is that better in the long run? Is that kind of parallel to how you're thinking about this USA game on Monday?
A bit. I mean, at a certain point, I don't, just like Austin FC is not going to fire Josh Wolf until playoff miss is confirmed. I mean, I feel like we'd have to lose by 4 or 5 goals for Berhalter to get fired after tomorrow night. Again, I think
that's very possible if you're going really twice.
And I will say Bielsa is crazy enough to run out a lineup to try to end Greg Berhalter's career, because Bielsa is the craziest manager in soccer.
Okay, so I've seen this rumor, but I'm not sure like how true it is, of like Bielsa tried to get the U.S. job when Greg was fired and he was rejected because he didn't speak English.
That he speaks English. Like, even at Leeds, he would occasionally do interviews in English. He just doesn't like speaking in English. He's completely fluent.
Okay.
But he doesn't do press conferences in English.
Yeah, and I mean, I sort of understand that too, because English is a very idiom-heavy language, and you can say something that's like a literal translation, and then, you know, especially if your experiences with the, like, you know, British press who are like all trying to twist words nonstop, like, what did he really mean by this, and hanging on every little detail of everything you said, and like, oh, he took a 2-second pause instead of a 4-second pause, like a, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
If he's more comfortable, who cares?
Yeah,
as long
I
as
feel
the
like
players can understand him.
Yeah, and even still, if he had to do press conferences here in the U.S., actually, I think if that was a problem or a consideration, like, hey, he had to deal with English press and doesn't want to be the same, he'd get a little more leeway here, just because, you know, in this country, we're just used to hearing different languages a little more often. If you get out anywhere in a major city, so I think there's a little more patience for non-English speakers in the media here in the U.S. than there probably is over in England.
But Seth, you can confirm, even though he's South American, he speaks the language.
Yes, he speaks the language, yes.
Okay, thank you.
However, you know, you guys said you don't think Berhalter gets fired unless there's a big blowout. I sensed a change on the game against Panama the other night. Post-game, there was no sugarcoating what happened. And God knows none of us really like him. But when you have Alexi Lawless out here screaming, you are fired if you do not win this game on Monday night or you don't get out of group, that's a different shift in messaging from people with a loud microphone than we've heard in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And I think the other big thing that would go a ways towards getting Greg out would be, you know, we lose 2-3-4-0 or something. And then like there's a big locker room disturbance or some of the players are coming out saying things. I think that might go a little further towards it. But just to lay out the scenarios, U.S. and Panama both on 3 points. U.S. with a 2-goal advantage right now in the tiebreaker. So the U.S. get a draw and Panama draws. They go through. The U.S. wins. It goes down to how bad did Panama beat Bolivia. U.S. loses. They got to hope that Bolivia, who's been one of, if not the worst teams in the tournament so far, manages to pull out a win. So, and the games are played concurrently since the last game of the group stage. So we can't wait and see either. I don't know.
I would also say don't discount the influence of a Jesse Marsh coach Canada getting through and the U.S. getting knocked out.
Yes, but also Canada has been pretty dreadful. They've been up a man for a third of the time and barely made it out of the group.
But they got out.
Yes.
And
results matter.
Yeah, and if Mexico somehow finds their way out, which they're in deep shit. But if they somehow find their way out and we're the only one of the three that doesn't, then I think that's a spur of a change big time.
Yeah.
I think
now, I'm not so sure Mexico's getting out.
I think if you go back to our preview episode, I said CONCACAF, CONMEBOL are going to drag Mexico out of this group, and I stand by that. But we'll see.
Yeah, that's the fascinating game to me tonight is the Mexico game. They're playing Ecuador. Everything to play for that match, right? The goal differential is 1, so Mexico has to win. A draw sends Ecuador through. Yeah, but if Mexico gets out and we don't, and Canada also got out, I think there is a very real chance early in the week Berhalter's gone.
Okay, so we fire him, and then when do we rehire him?
6 months. You have to do a full investigation, a full open look in. Create the criteria.
Make sure you got to audit his Nike collection, review the film on his bounce passes.
You got to build the criteria.
His brother has to build the algorithm to decide who the best coach is going to be.
Yeah.
Didn't Greg essentially build the algorithm?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. No, that's part of just not wanting to be involved in USSF's bullshit is just the way that they are completely incompetently corrupted, even hiding information like that. All the all the great comments about Gio at the lecture with the Chatham's rules and blah blah blah. USSF's press secretary said it was okay for the reporters to say that. They're just so blatantly incompetent at everything they try to do. Going back to Bielsa, I think he's crazy enough to actually play a full roster and do his system, and the way that they play and the way the US plays is a huge advantage for them in a way that I really do think that a 5-goal loss is possible. It's very easy for me to see a situation where the US just makes 1 or 2 mistakes, gets punished, and they're down 3-0 at halftime.
Yeah.
Does it make me a bad fan to want that to happen?
Well, that's sort of what I was getting at with the question is I think this is an interesting topic because if you sit here right now and say, hey, Devin, if the U.S. loses by 4 goals tonight, Greg Berhalter is gone and gone forever. Is it worth it? I would probably say yes. And then the second the whistle blew and that game started, I would be like, come on, U.S. So I don't know. But I don't actually think Greg is going to get fired unless there's total destruction plus some other factors.
Yeah,
I think it involves 1 or 2 of the core players going to USSF and saying Greg needs to go.
Yeah.
And I think Greg's done a really good job of cementing those friendships and using the roster selection to do that so that players who would speak out are not included in the group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In happier Copa news, Venezuela has been absolutely fantastic to watch in this tournament. And I'm very much looking, and they got to get a result tonight. I don't think, no, they don't, I guess, because either Venezuela's through.
Venezuela's through.
Yeah,
but they can not win the group.
Yeah, they can win.
You want to win the group to avoid Argentina until the semis.
Yeah, they can win
Yep.
the group with a result, and if they win the group, I think they beat Canada with the way Canada's playing. Do we think Danny gets a start tonight? Is the question at Q2?
I hope so. I've been really disappointed at him and Julio being gone from the team, but also not playing.
Yeah.
And also, like, if you're, I don't know, just from like a storytelling perspective, like the coach not picking Danny to play at his home stadium would just be like, would just be a travesty.
I'm looking right now. The cheapest get-in ticket is $180 after fees.
Ooh.
Well, I mean, Venezuela, if you saw the videos outside the hotels and things like that,
Yeah.
like Venezuela has brought fans to Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are also just like a lot of expats who are here now too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Danny plays, but they won't give him a start just because there is a little jeopardy in the group. But I wouldn't be shocked to see him get 30, 45 minutes. And, you know, is Costa Rica already out?
No, Costa Rica, if they beat Paraguay, they'd have to beat Paraguay by a larger margin than Brazil did, and then hope Colombia beats Brazil.
Yeah.
Okay.
They've got there's a 6-goal differential between them and Brazil right now. So you'd have to have like a 3-0 Costa Rica win and a 3-0 Brazil loss.
Okay.
Even that probably not, because like then it goes down to goals scored. It's like a 7-goal margin they effectively have to make up.
Yeah.
Julio's going to be staying in Austin after July 2nd.
It's funny as you look at tickets for tonight and then you look at tickets for Tuesday, and Tuesday is just wide open available for pricing, and they probably need to drop prices if they want to get at least 7,000 people in the stadium on Tuesday night.
Oof. That's rough.
It's for all intents and purposes a meaningless game between Costa Rica and Paraguay here on Tuesday.
All right, let me go back to the Greg hypothetical here. Like, let's say the U.S. and Panama both lose, and the U.S. still goes through, and then the U.S. gets absolutely like hided by Colombia again. You're essentially in the same spot as Greg getting fired or anybody talking about it then, where you lucked through.
Yeah, if you luck through, a 1-3 tournament is almost worse.
Yeah.
I think that would be the exact kind of like stunning mediocrity that Greg would still keep his job though.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. I'm not convinced either that like even if Uruguay like rotates 4 or 5 players that they're not going to come out and just take it to us either. I'm going to be very intrigued to see just the general like grit and attitude for the U.S. in this game, because Uruguay gets an early goal, like you could easily see the head sink and this just go.
Also,
So,
do we know Turner's availability? Is it going to be, because if it's Horvath, then that completely changes it too.
He's listed as day to day. So no. That was actually my moment of suffering for the U.S. game, was when they said Turner wasn't coming back out for the second half. It's just like, shit, we're in trouble. And it's not like Turner had the greatest season in the Premier League, but he's miles better than all the other options we have.
Yeah, the downfall of U.S. keepers is really something that needs to be studied.
I think it has to do.
But you also look at it. We have a great keeper pool coming up. I mean, Patrick Schutte over at the Crew, and I assume after the Olympics, if he does well, will be going off to Europe. Gaga hasn't been getting as much playing time in Europe. I feel like he hasn't been able to take advantage of himself. Chris Brady with the Fire is still like 20 years old and has a ton of potential. Like, there are still some really good keepers coming up.
Yeah, part of this too is the evolution of the position of goalkeeper as well. Like, Americans are typically good because we play ball sports where you use your hands. And goalkeeping now is a lot more playing with your feet, claiming crosses, that sort of thing, than just like keep ball out of net. So part of it's, we have people not playing keeper as well, but also it's how, classic David De Gea, right? He's still a very good keeper, just the positions changed so much in the modern game that he didn't quite keep up with it. At least that's my take. You guys want to do quick USA predictions? So we'll go score and whether they get through or not. Brad, you want to go first?
3-1 Uruguay, and they do not get through.
Okay. Seth?
Sneak out a 1-1 draw, but don't get through. Because Panama scores like an 89th minute winner in a reverse Zuzi type situation.
Okay. Charles?
I think Uruguay wins 4-0,
Ooh.
and they don't get out of the group.
Okay. Yeah, I think 4-0 would be tough to, because, even if Panama loses to Bolivia, it's probably not going to be more than a goal. I'm going to go 1-1
I just don't see
draw.
Bolivia
Sneak
getting a
out.
result.
Bolivia's bad. Like I watched that team in person, Bolivia's bad. The Panama, even down Carrasquilla, probably going to rotate a little bit. I think maybe a little. I guess they have to go get the win, but yeah, Panama's not losing to Bolivia.
Yeah. By the way, that was a fucking chicken shit red card. We didn't touch on that enough. From Carrasquilla.
Oh yeah, I'm glad he got the same suspension that way I got.
Yeah. I mean, they're essentially the same, like, violent conduct type of thing, because you can't be like, oh, I'm going for the ball. It was clear, and
yeah.
I'm a little proud of Pulisic for not getting up and swinging on him. We kind of talked about it last time, the whole, like, attempting to injure your fellow professional shit, which is clearly what that was.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you can hack Pulisic down without doing that to him and stop the restart. So, yeah, Houston player, right? So, all right. Anything else we need to touch on before we get out of here?
I will laugh at that. There are pictures of Carlo Ancelotti on vacation in rural Montana.
Nice.
Start the rumor mill now.
Are you aware that it's already hot dice summer?
Yes. Hot dice summer in Ibiza.
Yeah, Sean Dyche was in Ibiza, and he's at Glastonbury right now. So we'll see. He does look a lot younger with a smile on his face.
I didn't know he was capable of smiling.
Yeah, like he can do like the evil one, but like a genuinely like joy smile I didn't know he could do. Apparently he's an expert on types of curry too. So
okay.
Little facts, So I'm almost full circle on the bring Sean Dyche to coach the U.S. Thing. Maybe not quite, but all right. On behalf of Brad and Seth and Charles and Austin FC and USA fans everywhere, thanks for suffering with us.
Promise here for Austin Jared Stroud. It's Diego for goodness! He has written his name into Austin folklore.
They just won't go away.
Oh, he hits the upright again! That's impossible!
The Bears' season's going to end on a double doink.
Altidore squares it. Dempsey's missed it. Donovan has it. From hope, there is glory.